If your house is too dry, a lot of tropical plants won't grow properly. And when we talk about Nepenthes, it means they won't be carnivorous. They won't produce the trap, the pitcher, and they will just be kind of leafy. But there is some quick ways to negate this dryness around. The best way for me would be the water tray, and that's exactly what we will talk today. And make sure you stick until the end because I will give you a tips how to get the most of the water tray. So, coming up. Hi, my name is Remy, and on this channel I explain you everything I know about how to grow Nepenthes, this tropical carnivorous plant, or the windowsill. So if you're new, consider subscribing. So let's talk about the water tray now, the pros and cons. The pros are easy, it helps to raise the humidity, and the warmer it is, the higher the humidity will be. Again, that's logic. When it's hot, the water in the tray will evaporate and raise the humidity. When it's cold, there is less evaporation, less humidity. Common sense. The second good pro is the vacation. As you saw on my other video about going in vacation, I will post the link at the end of this video. I basically filled the trays with water until it touched the pot. 1 centimeter to 1 inch, because it will slowly dry. After a week, if it's hot, it won't touch anymore the pot. But the water on the tray will still evaporate. So that buy me something like 2 weeks of good humidity, and even another weeks before the substrate gets very dry. So again, going in vacation for 3 weeks, good. I don't need the help of a neighbor or the grandma that will have a cat and will destroy my plants, or that the person that will water the plants or forgot to water the plant. Actually, it happened to me too. Yeah. So anyway, the pros are there. Easy to manage, raising the humidity. So now let's talk about the cons. So the first cons would be you have to raise the pot. The pot have to not stay in the water for too long, no more than a week. So previously, in my previous video about watering Nepenthes, I didn't add any crate, and I was filling the water until 1 centimeter of the pot, and I was letting it dry totally, so 1 centimeter of water totally dry, plus the other centimeter in the tray totally dry, so the substrate was able to dry up to prevent root rot. But then I decided to raise the pot higher using egg crate, they call that, on every kind of Home Depot you will find this. Usually you find that around the light for the ceiling. That's where they use that. But that allows me to win 1 centimeter. So basically, if I water the plants, I have like 2 centimeters of water that don't touch the pot. So clearly, I see the water evaporating, and it buy me again from 1 to 2 weeks easy. So again, you have to raise the pot, but it will help. So now the next cons. It evaporates. The next cons is just normal stuff. Common sense again. The water will evaporate and you will have to fill the water again. So it will consume more water than watering just the pot. But again, it will raise the humidity, so it's kind of a cons without really being one. And the final cons, if I think it this way, would be it take more space. As you saw on another video, I had all the trays kind of a landscape, and it was all the way to the very end, and I had like 5 to 6. So I had to pull the furniture, and now it's 10 trays. And believe me, when 10 trays evaporate, it raises the humidity. But again, it will take more space. So if you are really not having a lot of space, maybe that's going to be a challenge. Okay, now we talk about the trays. Let's see the data actually. I have a sensor push here that allow me to see the temperature and the humidity, and we'll see now the data. It's plant geek time, so let's see that. 2 weeks ago, I filled my water tray, and for the first week, this is the humidity I had, and then the week after, so it was last week. It was sunnier, so there is more evaporation, but you still see that it's kind of irregular, especially when you look at 2 weeks. But keep in mind that all this water on the trays will evaporate, and then the humidity will reduce over the next weeks. But let's see what happens when there is no more water in the trays. Let's zoom a little bit. As you see, there is a lot of humidity that is missing, that should not be lacking. Let's see how was the trays at that time. So the plants looks good, absolutely nothing bad, but when you check the trays, it's totally dry, not even humid. This one is the same, and let's see, yes, it's even there, it's dry. This one have a little bit of water. This one is totally dry too. The next one, barely humid. The next one totally dry. And even when it's not Nepenthes, like just Carnivorous plant, these trays are still kind of dry. So it's time to fill all these trays with water, and I will show you how I do that. And after, we will check with the sensor push all the data. So as you see, I'm just pouring water until it totally go to the bottom of the pot and reach the tray. So the sphagnum moss and the media, the substrate, will retain as much water as possible, but the overload of water will reach the tray. And I will continue until the water touch the top of the crate. I don't want the water to touch the pot. Okay, so all the trays are filled up with water. So again, nothing really complex. I just raise the pot so they don't sit in water. I use this egg crate. That's great. But you can use lava rocks or any kind of things to just raise the pot. And you see, all of these trays have water in it. So that's sometimes it's kind of a weird water, but at least it's water and it helps to boost the humidity. Oh, and by the way, I have 10 trays, 10 water tray on my windowsill. So all these trays evaporate and help to raise the humidity. Okay, now let's see the data. Focus on the average humidity. It's gonna be better. So 2 weeks ago, the water trays was full and it was 64%. Then it was 60% when the trays was half empty. And fully empty, 52. Then I filled the trays with water and we reach 61. So as you see, it's plus 10% humidity. It's little, but sometimes it's just what it takes to have some pitchers versus no pitcher, depending on the species, obviously. At the beginning, I talk about giving you tips how to make the most out of your trays. That's easy. You water the plants through the pot with pure water. So the sphagnum and the substrate is moist with clear, clean water. But if the substrate is moist, you don't need to put clean water on the tray as long as this water do not touch the pot. I mean, if you water using tap water, yes, your TDS will be high and mineral load and it may poison the plants, except if it don't touch the plant or the pot. I mean, because I raised the pot, I could fill clearly 2 centimeters of regular tap water. It will still evaporate. The minerals will stay in the tray. So there is no problem, basically. Using this method, using just random water, that will work. That will raise the humidity. But don't use this tap water to water your plants. You don't want that. It will, as you know, minerals will build up in the sphagnum or whatever the substrate that you have, and at some point it will poison the plants. Or you better repot the plants every year. But again, if you break a root, it will slow down the growth of your plants. So you want to repot maybe every 2 to 4 years. 4 would be great. That's why you use clean water. So do you have some water tray for your pots, or you prefer having small cup, or maybe not even? But yeah, I would be happy to know how many of you use the trays method. And until next time, happy growing.